Hey everyone, Heather here, and for today's video, I wanted to talk about what your Final Fantasy XIV race says about you or your Warrior of Light. I actually got this idea from when I was reading the Encyclopedia Eorzea, because in here there is a description on every race, background, histories, how these races came to be in Eorzea, cultures, personality traits, all of that. And so of course what I did was read up all about the Miqo'te, because that's my character, Oliver Bentley, is a Miqo'te. And I wanted to see if the description in here actually matches up with like the head lore that I have for Oliver Bentley. And then I thought, hey, if I make a video about that, then all of you watching can do that too. Also, I'm not going to be talking about the Viera or the Hrothgar because they're actually not in here. So once the new edition comes out, I will make another video that's just all about them. So this video might be a long one. Feel free to use the timestamps in the pinned comment if you want to skip around to a particular race. And with that said, let's get into it. So what does your Final Fantasy XIV race say about your Warrior of Light? Brought to you by the Encyclopedia Eorzea. Oh, also, to help me pick the order, of course, I have my trusty assistant here, Bento the Benevolent, recently upgraded with all of these cool stickers that I got, which I talked about in the previous video. There's also one in here. Ooh. Bento is going to help me pick the order of how we do this. Who's gonna go first? All right, ready? First up is... oh wow, the Miqo'te! Can you see? Oh, of course, you can't see this because it's on a green screen here. It's a green, it's a neon green note card. First up, the Miqo'te, which is Oliver Bentley's race. So, first up, personality traits. Miqo'te are fiercely territorial and proud of their traditions. It could be said that Miqo'te are unsuited to life in the city-states. Yes, this is true so far for Oliver. As natural-born hunters given to a nomadic lifestyle, many Miqo'te have achieved great success as adventurers. Also true. To the free-willed and solitary Miqo'te, other races' way of life, like their want to flock together with their own kind, they overrun nature to build cities, they seek safety and stability in laws and alliances, all this seems quite curious indeed. Yes, I believe that's true also for Oliver. I think she is very much like the odd one out. Now, beliefs and values. As I mentioned earlier, Miqo'te are very proud of their traditions. The agile Miqo'te also value freedom above all else, which can be seen in their attire. They shun unwieldy armor that might restrict their range of motion. Seeing themselves as part of the natural world itself, they prize above all the freedom of the hunt, and do not shun death when old age and infirmity sap them of the physical talents needed to pursue their quarry to their satisfaction. So based on this, I feel like if you're a Miqo'te, you tend to live in the moment, you tend to be very present, and live in the here and now. Now, tribes of the Seeker of the Sun. First, many seekers choose to set off as adventurers, perhaps heeding the same call of the wild their ancestors once heard. They're also drawn to the freedom of pirate life. If you're a seeker, you're also blessed with a wiry strength, surpassing agility, and the stamina to run for hours under the blazing sun, a combination of traits that makes you uncommonly suited to hunting in arid climates. Since many seekers are adept at climbing and diving, they also make for excellent sailors. The Seekers of the Sun are a highly patriarchal culture, with each tribe centered around a strong breeding male, nuns, whose duty it is to form a harem and lead his people to glory and prosperity. Now, fun fact, also G'raha and Y'shtola are obviously Miqo'te, but they're specifically Seekers of the Sun, which, based on all of this, makes a lot of sense for them. Each of the 26 Seeker tribes adopted a tribal name taken from one letter of the Eorzean alphabet. The letter represents the tribe, and the given name is a patronymic taken from the breeding male of the tribe. So the G in G'raha means that Raha is part of the G tribe, and Y'shtola is Y'shtola, and then the Y is that she's from the Y tribe. Oliver Bentley is actually a Seeker of the Sun and has a completely different name because I didn't know all this. I don't know like how I would rename her, but you know what? She's an odd man out like through and through, right? So her name is just what it is. Now, Keepers of the Moon. Keepers lack the physical stamina of the Seekers, but they make up for this with a fierce strength of will and unerring instincts. With their keen intuition, keeper hunters have been known to easily snare even targets concealed in the gloom of night. So if you're a keeper of the moon, you probably tend to be very focused and attentive. The keepers of the moon are also a highly matriarchal society, which is manifested in their names. The first name is their given name, to which is attached the mother's surname. In contrast to the Seekers of the Sun, with their male-dominated traders and harems, the fundamental unit of the Keeper of the Moon society is the family, centered around a strong mother figure and her children. Honestly, I think if I had to choose, like if I had known this before, I would have probably picked a Keeper of the Moon, because I dig the matriarchal society. Oh, can you see that? Well, there it is. All right, fun fact. First, we've got Nashu, I believe her name was, and Chloe. They are Keepers of the Moon. Keepers are known for decorating their faces with war paint before going on a hunt, a tradition symbolizing their readiness and resolve to stain their hands with blood, as well as sending a message to their gods that they are prepared to serve them as warriors in the afterlife, should they fall. This is one of my favorite things about Final Fantasy XIV, is that the world is so built out that there is a purpose and a meaning behind everything. So, of course, like war paint is a customization that I feel like is, widely available in many video games. But if you are specifically Keeper of the Moon and you've got war paint, like there is a reason, there is a almost like a religious belief behind it, which is so cool. I just love that the world is built out that much. Okay, next up, Bento is going to pick. We've got, okay, you should be able to see this one. The Lalafell. While placing great importance on familial bonds, the Lalafell are by no means exclusionary, and they enjoy cordial relations with their fellow races. So if you're a Lalafell, you probably tend to be friendly, sociable, and outgoing. Honestly, I think just based on this, I am probably like a Lalafell in real life. I mean, it's not that I'm an extrovert. I would consider myself an extroverted introvert, because I really, like, at the end of the day, love my alone time, but I also would consider myself pretty friendly and outgoing. They've also achieved success as a race of traders and merchants, so you're probably very entrepreneurial and savvy. The first Lalafell that comes to mind is Tataru, very entrepreneurial and very savvy, so that's exactly like her. However, their singularly business-minded nature can lead them to being perceived as greedy and calculating, but few can find it in their hearts to entirely dislike the Lalafell with their inherently bright and jovial nature. I think if you're a Lalafell, you tend to be more open-minded and helpful, where you're willing to put aside any differences if it means creating a situation where everyone wins. You could be whatever. You don't even have to be mortal. You could be absolutely whatever, but we are going to figure out a situation where everyone wins. I think that, like, I really admire that. I would like to channel that. I hope I'm channeling that in real life. You clearly value business and trade. You are also keenly aware of the benefits of relationships and partnerships. So already, like, super different from the Miqo'te, because obviously the Miqo'te is very strength and agility focused, and here it's like a lot of interpersonal skills. Lalafell names are made up of a given name and a courtesy name bestowed upon reaching adulthood. The latter is not a family name, but rather unique to the individual. So that tells me that Lalafells really value their sense of individuality, which again, really, like, I love that you can, like, embrace or embody what your race is known for, but then also have your sense of self. That's me. I really think I'm a Lalafell. I can't see. So anyway, as I was trying to say, is I really think I'm a Lalafell in real life, but I also have a tendency to pronounce Lalafell like Lalafell. I don't know. Now I'm just getting tongue-tied. Okay, the Plainsfolk. Today, the Plainsfolk represent a significant part of the Liminson populace and are known for their relaxed, comfortable lifestyle. What they lack in physical strength, they more than make up for in swiftness of reflexes and sharpness of mind. Their gardening and horticultural skills know no peer, and it was in this capacity that they shined as pioneers of new and theretofore unbroken lands. They've been farmers, maritime traders, and fishers, so they like working off the land. Making the most of their light and compact bodies, they developed their own unique seafaring and navigational methods. So I think if you're a Plainsfolk, you tend to be very daring and crafty, and you definitely don't let size stop you, which again, I think is another admirable trait, because it's not about comparing, like, you know, there's a Roegadyn who's like literally 10 times my size and they can do all this. It's just like, well, these are the cards I'm dealt, so what can I do, even if it means creating something from nothing in order to like make it so that this thing works best for me. I actually, when I got diagnosed with ADHD, had to figure all of that out. That's the story for another video. All right, fun fact. Also, yeah, Kryle and Teleji are very crafty, so makes sense that they are Plainsfolk. But hair of grassy and earthen colors is common among Plainsfolk, with dubious theories claiming that these hues evolved to camouflage their bearers from the sight of the fearsome vultures that roam the skies above their island home. The Dunesfolk. Many Dunesfolk are blessed with an aptitude for magic, with many of them accounting for numerous accomplished thaumaturges, as well as high-ranking members of the Order of Naldthal clergy. Dunesfolk miners also rival the Roegadyn in their numbers and accomplishments, making up for their lack of brute strength with resourcefulness and the ability to delve into the narrowest tunnels. So I think the word I would use to describe that is like spunky, right? Like very energetic, very courageous. If you are a Dunesfolk, you're also very practical by nature and swift to put ideas into action. Their temperament is well suited to seizing business opportunities, and it is little surprise that they played a great role in building Ul'dah into the bustling center of trade and commerce it is today. Also, I'd say that if you're Dunesfolk, you are very ambitious and reliable. You're definitely someone who doesn't let things hold you back from getting stuff done, which again, like I so admire that trait. One of my favorite traits is like the compulsion to just get stuff done. Like I hate it when I have analysis paralysis and I'm just like stuck there debating between two options. Like, just go. There's literally a reason why my brand, like my channel, is called HeatherJustPlay. My vlog channel is HeatherJustCreate, because I'm telling myself, like, just go do the thing. Like, stop hesitating, just go do the thing. All right, fun fact for Dunesfolk. Also, Tataru is a Dunesfolk, and so is Pippin. And they're both doers, so that totally makes sense. A unique Dunesfolk practice is to feed their children cups of herb tea infused with minuscule portions of diluted snake and scorpion venom. As such, Dunesfolk raised in traditional households often display a remarkable resistance to certain poisons. I wonder if Nanamo was a Dunesfolk. I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments, but then that would make sense. Who is next? Bento. I just took a peek and there are two more green cards. The Hyur. All right, the Hyur. Okay, the Hyur are Eorzea's predominant race. They had 3 migratory waves, so you can find Hyur in all corners of the realm. If your Warrior of Light is a Hyur, I would say they're probably a natural explorer and adventurous, as it's always been in their nature to look for new frontiers. You're also probably brave, as Hyur have had the strength to face danger, fear, or difficulty, especially when they often find themselves in conflict, even outright war, with native peoples, and now they make up a prominent share of the populace in each of the realm's great city-states. Also, since the Hyur brought their knowledge, technology, and ideas with them as they migrated, they helped to drive the rapid spread of culture and civilization in Eorzea, which tells me that if you're a Hyur, you're probably very innovative and willing to try new things, so you're probably an early adopter. The IRL version of this is like, if there's any kind of new tech, right? Like maybe you were the first to get a smartphone. Actually, I feel like I'm aging myself here, but I remember when smartphones were new. I actually remember having a Palm Pilot in college, and this is so funny. I thought it was so cool because it was like this digital thing. If you don't know what a Palm Pilot is, you can Google it. But it's like this digital thing that kind of looks like a smartphone. And I remember tinkering with the calendar, right? Because I wanted to put all my classes, all my like appointments, and I was super involved on campus. So I really wanted what we have today, like on every device, which is a calendar where I can categorize my appointments and schedule everything and just like have it all there and get reminders and stuff like that. And I was putting stuff into my calendar, and it like gave me a notification that was like, oh, you've run out of space. Like you can't add more events to your calendar. And I think that was like the last time I used that Palm Pilot, because I was so disappointed that I'd spent like 2 hours trying to set this thing up, and then it couldn't do what I had wanted it to do. And like, this is why I will never take for granted like all these digital tools that we have. I know I'm totally going on a tangent here, but the fact that like I remember what it's like to almost have what we so easily have now. So I so appreciate that we could do this. But anyways, I would consider myself in real life an early adopter. Not necessarily that I need the newest and shiniest thing, but like when it comes to tech, I tend to keep an open mind compared to like my peers. When I was still working at a job and like had coworkers, I always like was so interested in, I remember like back then VR was super big and new, and I made everyone like those goggles that you can put on your phone so you can like turn into little VR glasses. I don't know. I'm curious about them. And I know that the Hyur are probably based off of humans in real life. So this makes a lot of sense. Innovative. There we go. And an early adopter. All right. Beliefs and values. The standard attire for Huron adventurers tends to be simple yet functional. For example, they favor leather-high boots from when their ancestors crossed the snow plains and peaks of Ilsebard. Also, since Hurons tend to adopt the culture of where they live, there really isn't a universal Huron sense of cultural identity, so they really value personal freedom rather than tradition or heredity. As such, they can be viewed by other races as overzealous and unprincipled. I actually really like this trait. Maybe it is Final Fantasy XIV, but I've been thinking a lot lately about what it means to really embrace your individuality and your sense of self, but then also honor traditions and what has come before. But I like the fact that the Hurons are not, it's like they're not caged by where they have come from, right? Like they can literally get up and plant roots wherever they want and just completely assimilate and really contribute to whatever culture they find themselves in. And I think that's a really cool thing. Okay, Midlanders. Since Midlanders can be found in city-states and villages the realm over, earning their keep in myriad trades and vocations, I would say that Midlanders are flexible and resourceful, and that they really value individuality, since it seems like you can choose what you want to be as your trade, which I think is really cool because you're not limited by like what your parents or grandparents' trade was. And because Midlanders have this ability to be able to choose their trade, I think it makes it more likely that they choose something that they're passionate about, rather than like my dad did this, or it runs in the family, or this is just what Miqo'te do, or whatever. Midlanders are also a highly cultured people, and they have traditionally compensated for their lack of exceptional prowess with enterprise and ingenuity, contributing to great advances in all manner of disciplines. See, that's exactly what I was saying. Many of the realm's greatest inventors and innovators have been Midlanders. I hope I channel this in real life. Like, I hope that I am making the most of the ability to invent or innovate, or to create something that doesn't exist, to come up with a vision and then make it come to life. I hope I'm doing that. I'd like to think I'm doing that. A comparatively large number of Midlanders are educated in letters from a young age, giving rise to a healthy population of academics and intellectuals. Also, their proclivity for letters and their knack for refining ideas has led them to make considerable contributions to literature and fine arts. So, the fun fact for Midlanders. Yes, Thancred and Rowena do seem like they're both jack of all trades. Midlanders are excellent at acquiring and refining new knowledge. For example, it was a Midlander culinarian who created the popular dish known as bouillabaisse, inspired by the simple seafood favored by sea wolf fishermen. Iteration and like collaboration is my favorite thing, right? So like one person comes up with something, another person comes up with something, but then like with our powers combined, we can make something that neither party could have made independently. I love that. Like that magic is just such a cool thing that can happen anytime, right? I just love that. I don't know. Highlanders. Okay, Highlanders are noticeably taller and more muscular than Midlanders. Some believe that the impressive Highlander physique is a fruit of countless generations spent residing in harsh, unforgiving mountain climbs where the air is thin and each day is a struggle for survival. Because of their natural strength and martial talents, many Highlanders become sellswords and gladiators. I also think that Highlanders are resilient and tenacious since a lot of them lived as refugees where life was hard and the primary goal was survival. I think that Highlanders have a lot of mental grit because they've gone through the worst, and the fact that they've overcome everything to get to where they are. It almost like, you know, it gives you this confidence because it's like you can look back and be like, I did all of that. This is nothing compared to all of that. Highlanders have a long spiritual tradition where they'll sport wood-carved talismans or tattoos that have a lot of meaning, like vows. Some may find this crude, but one cannot deny their uniqueness and the manner in which they evoke unadulterated strength of nature. Their ruggedness can also be seen in their preferred fare. Simple yet impressive dishes such as massive goat steaks seared perfectly to seal in the natural juices. So, who are our two Highlanders, Fordola and Raubon? Overcooking is taboo in Highlander kitchens to the degree that some consider them raw meat eaters. I definitely wouldn't be a Highlander because Tom and I are vegetarian, but I think I have had raw meat one time in my life. I forgot what the dish is called. Tartare. Beef tartare? That was a very long time ago. All right. So, I think we have two more. All right. Oh, it's showing up as orange in here. Oh, there's three more. There's three more. Okay. You can't see that because it's a green screen. Oh, it's showing up as orange because that's the background. That's the background of the keynote. I'm learning. Okay. So this says the aura. The aura possess a strong self-preservation instinct. They were also the mortals created by Azim and Nama, the two deities who quarreled over which should rule the new world. The Aura served as soldiers in their way by proxy, so I think that means that Aura are natural warriors and fighters. They also take great pride in their majestic horns, which serve to enhance their hearing and sense of spatial perception. I'm sure that definitely helps while they're fighting. I think Aura in general also have a deep respect for traditions and customs, whether it's their own or other races. Most unique and striking among the traditional dress of the Aura are their belts, which symbolize health and vitality. Their hems also look like they've been ripped apart, but it's an old age tradition meant to evoke an air of rugged strength. I love that so many of the races kind of showcase their traditions and beliefs in their attire. Like, just those little lore tidbits make Final Fantasy XIV super exciting to me. I don't know, I just love that. They believe in protecting tribe and family, though the means by which these two clans choose to do so diverges greatly. So the Raen, hope I'm saying that right. The Raen have forged strong relations with the Hyur and other races, adapting readily to new cultures. So if you're a Raen, I think you tend to be friendly, affable, and pleasant. You're also open-minded, since Raen coexist peacefully with other races to ensure the safety of their own kind. Serena comes to mind, but I don't think that she is a Raen. I think that she's a Xaela because she's from the Azim steppe. Some Raen ventured across the sea to the Far East, where they earned a reputation as legendary swordsmasters, so you're also a strong fighter. Perhaps owing to their heritage and the status they gain in the service of their warlords, they place particular importance on hierarchy and the master-servant relationship. So if you are a Raen, you're probably very obedient and respectful. Oh, you know who comes to mind? Yugiri. Yugiri has to be. Yeah. I made this like last month and I didn't get around to recording the video until now, so I forgot who I put. I forgot this girl's name, but she's like on the dirigible. I think it's the raid, like the Final Fantasy XII quest line, that whole thing. Yugiri makes so much sense because she takes a lot of pride in her role for serving Lord Hien, and so she's like, you know, that master-servant relationship. She's very obedient. She's obviously a very strong fighter, so she's definitely like a model Raen. The Raen have fully assimilated to the cultures of Doma and Hingashi and live faithfully according to the region's traditions. I think the only Raen village is the one that's under the sea, but I guess it doesn't matter because they've you know, migrated to Doma and Hingashi. The Xaela still live on the vast Azim steppe, clinging tenaciously to their traditional nomadic way of life. They're also natural hunters and gatherers that live off the land, which leads to a lot of conflict with other tribes. This is what I find very ironic because the other tribes that they're fighting with are just other Xaela. And for a race that supposedly has like a strong self-preservation instinct, it's weird that it like doesn't apply to the whole race. It's just your tribe. Their physical strength, hardened by generations of war and conflict, far outstrips that of other races. So I'd say that you're not just a fighter or a warrior, but you're also a survivor, right? So I think that gives you a different sense of strength compared to like a swordsman or a gladiator. As nomads, a Xaela tribe is only as wealthy as or prosperous as the size of its herd, which symbolizes the strength and status of the tribe as a whole. So I think that if you are a Xaela, you're probably very protective and vigilant. The fiercely tribal Xaela also shun relations with other races, even viewing strangers of their own kind as potential enemies. So they're typically regarded with suspicion and hostility. I actually loved the Azim steppe. I think it was one of my favorite regions in Stormblood because it was so different. It was almost like this different world in Eorzea, which it's not technically Eorzea, but like in Hydaelyn, is that what the world is called? On their planet. You know what I'd love to see is like a short story of the Azim steppe after being ruled under the Mole tribe and Serena, right? Like, fast forward, I forgot how often they do their Nodum thing, but like, say for some reason she's the ruler of the Azim steppe for like the next 25 years, right? For like a whole generation. How would that change? Like, what impact would that make? I'd just be curious. All right, fun fact for the Xaela. Definitely true for Magni. Definitely embodies a Xaela. And then, okay, yeah, so Serena is also a Xaela. Xaela are known for an alcoholic beverage made from beast milk. Those who have partaken of this drink beneath the yurt of a Xaela can take pride in knowing that they have been accepted as a friend, at least for the moment. Well, I know for a fact that Serena offered us, I think it was some kind of milk, right? Like, I remember a scene where I think there was like a campfire. It was a campfire scene. And I know we were there. I believe Lise was there. Hien must have been there. Gozetsu? Yeah, so we've all been accepted. Yay. All right, 2 more. Getting down here. The Roegadyn. Massive and heavily muscled, the Roegadyn are easily the most imposing of Eorzean races. Oft-seen vying with one another in feats of strength, Roegadyn can appear barbaric to the uneducated observer, but in fact are known to be honorable and compassionate people. The histories are filled with tales of Roegadyn warriors and their courageous deeds. Theirs is a culture that exalts the strong and looks down upon the weak, both among their own kind and outsiders. But this is by no means limited to feats of physical strength. Even a wee Lalafell might win a Roegadyn's respect with a display of mystical power or strength of will. I love this because it seems to me that based on this, Roegadyn have to be very like, I don't know what the word is, like reflective or observant of the people around them to be able to come up with those kinds of conclusions, right? Like, so it's not just based off of what people can see, but your character overall, right? Like what your character, something about your character can be seen as strength to a Roegadyn. I love that. Traditional Roegadyn garb is designed as if to flaunt the wearer's imposing physique, with the biceps in particular strikingly exposed. Now, the sea wolves. True to their sea-faring roots, many sea wolves have made their mark as pirates, sailors, and fishermen. I think to excel in ocean-based trades, that means you have to be tough and resilient. Sea wolves also take pride in their locks. They have developed a tradition of unique braids and weaves. If you're a sea wolf, you probably favor fish and other fruits of the sea, prepared with simple and unpretentious seasonings. You also make ample use of salt, which has the added benefit of serving as a preservative on long ocean voyages, and are known for a wide variety of cured foods. I believe Merlveb is a sea wolf, right? Yes. Oh, and Minbrita. Yes. That makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, these are two of my favorite characters in Final Fantasy XIV. I honestly wish we get more screen time for them, but they're both very tough, very strong, very resourceful. They have leadership qualities. They're awesome. I love them. Sea wolves are noted connoisseurs of ale and wine, which they prefer to the more easily perishable water, and many have made a name for themselves as brewers of potent potables. Yes, I do remember this about Minbrita. She loves her beer. Love to go to happy hour with her. And then Merlveb is all about her red wines. So happy hour with all three of us. 4 of us, right? So like me, my warrior of light Oliver, in some fantasy world, Merlveb and Minbrita. That would be awesome. Now, the Hellsguard. Hellsguard are few in number, but they burn with the fierce pride of warriors. Many Hellsguard partake in aesthetic firewalking, training from a young age to bring out their latest mystical talents, which has helped to produce many great mages. I also think that this means that you probably tend to be very disciplined. Hellsguard also produce the fearsome sword and axe-wielding warriors for which their kind are best known. In contrast to the Sea Wolves, the Hellsguard have adopted names rooted in the common tongue so that they may be more easily remembered and addressed by other races, in particular, their masters that they serve as sellswords. So they're super practical. I think like Hoary Boulder comes to mind. I think Hoary Boulder and Midnight Dew, those names are, super different from like Merlveb or Minbrita. They value reticence and perseverance above all virtues. Fun fact. Who we got? Yes, Hoary Boulder and Midnight Dew. There you go. Surnames are rare, perhaps owing to the fierce individuality of those that chose to leave their home behind. Just forget all attachment to the past and just make your own name and start over. I love this, but I know for a fact that Hoary Boulder has a brother because I was walking in Gridania one day and there was another Roegadyn there named something Boulder. It starts with an O. I can't remember what it is, but he's got a brother and they both have the last name Boulder. Okay, and the last one, I believe, is just the Elezen, right? I don't think we've talked about the Elezen. This is another green card. The Elezen! Okay. The Elezen were once the predominant race of all Eorzea, and to this day harbor a deep pride at being the chosen race of the gods. They also boast the longest lifespan of all races by a slight margin. I think because they see themselves as the original inhabitants of Eorzea ever since the first astral era, which is like no one else can say that. So I think if you're an Elezen, I think that makes you a little more self-respecting than other races. Elezen also have a tendency to relive past glories, so you're probably thoughtful and reflective and retrospective because you do look towards the past a lot. I think the past plays a big part in how you see the future. So you tend to be observant. You're probably also very creative and artistic. So even though you honor the past, you also like putting your own individuality into things. This is reflected in how Elezen dress themselves. Even their functional adventurer's garb is crafted with an eye for fashion, down to the exquisite silverwork that adorns it. Elezen also have a knack for leadership. You value discipline and order above all, with a natural proclivity for organization and collaborative effort, which is why the Elezen have made great contribution in the founding of Ishgard and Gridania. Ishgard is what immediately came to mind. That these great nations still stand strong centuries later is a remarkable testament to the Elezen talent for governance. I think there isn't any other nation that is as disciplined and organized and governed, even though it has holes, as Ishgard, right? On the other hand, your preoccupation with history and tradition, your tendency to relive past glories, and your propensity for pretentious speech can occasionally alienate you from other races. So you probably tend to come off as pretentious. I think there was even an NPC in Idleshire. I remember I think it's like the NPC that eventually leads you to talking to Chloe, who gives you the book, but their name was like painfully Ishgardian man, which made me laugh so hard. I'm pretty sure I took a screenshot. Elezen have heightened aesthetic sensibilities, which can be seen in fashion as well as the fine arts. They really like to express themselves, which is cool. I love that. All right, so Wildwood Elezen. Wildwood Elezen possess a keen sense of hearing, in part due to their large ears. This goes back to Elezen in general being very observant. Elezen ancestors were nomadic, so if you're nomadic, you're probably very adaptable and resourceful. Also, if you're a Wildwood Elezen, you have a natural affinity for magic. Great mages throughout history were Wildwood Elezen. And it's also the Wildwood Elezen that originated the art of archery to protect their lands and livestock from outside threats. From the strings of the bow were born stringed musical instruments, and song and poetry in turn. Their long and graceful limbs also lent themselves to dance. Overall, you're probably very creative and tend to express yourself in imaginative ways, and I can see Wildwood Elezen getting together to collaborate on artistic endeavors. It's funny because their culture, I feel like, maybe it's because they've lived for so long that they have been able to really explore the arts and dance and all these other more recreational type hobbies compared to other races that have focused on survival and living off the land. Fun fact for Wildwood, we've got Urianger, who is a Wildwood, and Elezen, which also means Alphino. Editing Heather here, and I totally forgot to read the Elezen fun facts. So, Wildwood Elezen are pioneers in fashion. Their unique tanning techniques and exquisite accessories earn a great renown across the land. Also, look at the detail in Urianger's outfit, right? Like, does that not embody exactly what we just talked about? And the Duskwight Elezen. The Duskwight Elezen are the descendants of those who parted ways with their brethren after the founding of Gridania, making their home in deep forest caves and caverns for centuries. So, if you're a Duskwight Elezen, you're probably very independent and tend to be the lone wolf type. Duskwight also have a great sense of hearing, but it comes from living in caves for centuries. They can ascertain the source of a sound with unerring accuracy, often likened to the hearing of a bat. So taking it a step further from being observant, I think that a Duskwight Elezen would probably be very sharp and very mindful. To this day, Duskwight Elezen are shrewd and inventive, always developing architectural advances to help them stake out comfortable residences in dank, humid caves and mystical wars that serve to stave off the fury of the elementals. I also think you tend to be spiritual and perceptive because Duskwight are known for their pomanders, which are urns engraved with mystical glyphs of great power and filled with fragrant herbs, which are an art without parallel in the realm. So it's had that much of an influence. A great majority of Duskwight shun the fetters of government and society, and a great majority of them keep a wide berth of the city-states. So you probably tend to be self-reliant and persistent. And I find this very interesting because, like, you know, Elezen as a whole, I feel like they're very disciplined. I mean, we talked about governance and tradition and all of that, but the fact that Duskwight are like being independent, looking out for yourself, even if that means that you have to live in a cave, is very different. I think I read that there's also like tensions between the Duskwight and the Wildwood. Some even resort to brigandry as a means of survival. So I think Duskwight tend to be tough and callous. They are often looked upon with scorn by Gridanians, but I think this is what makes them fighters. So they're used to doing what they have to do in order to survive. I can't remember who the two Duskwight Elezen I put. Okay, Xaela. This makes total sense, right? She just was like, we're going to do our own thing over here. We believe in what's right. And we are going to hide in like caverns and like, you know, create hideouts and stuff like that. Very Duskwight. And then this is Mother Mune, which doesn't make sense to me. I was actually surprised to learn that Estinian wasn't a Duskwight because I feel like his overall demeanor and personality is very Duskwight just based on this, but he's actually a Wildwood. Duskwight cuisine is famous for its use of muntai beans, a staple food in the subterranean depths where they grow in abundance with no need for sunlight. These dishes are considered to be a Gridanian delicacy, ironic considering the history between the two clans. Ooh, that was a super long video, but it was so much fun to put all that together and write all of that. Again, I got all of that info from the Encyclopedia Eorzea, and I'd love to know, is the description of your race, of your Warrior of Light, was that accurate, right? Or was there something different? Is there something that, like, you know, the lore of how you see your Warrior of Light is this instead, and why? I'd love to know, like, how you approach the lore behind your Warrior of Light in general too. I know some people can get super into it, and for others it's just like aesthetically you chose this race because it looks cool to you or whatever. I remember for me, I was just so overwhelmed by all of the options. I always get overwhelmed when it comes to the character creation screen. I'm like, you know, I'm so paranoid of, like, is this the last time I'll be able to change this hair color, or will I be able to modify it in the future? But anyway, I hope you found that enjoyable, and I will catch you in the next video. See ya. Bye.